So, welcome to the Diverse Creative Podcast. And I am here today with Stefan Strychar from A Modern Armada. And honestly, I really only got to know your music this week. And I get a bit of a kind of Green Day, My Chemical Romance vibe from your latest release. But that may not have been what you were going for, but that's what I kind of get from it. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, about your musical journey up till now, and then we'll get into talking about your new release?
Sure. And that lasted for about 6 months, and I gave up on it. And I switched to guitar. 'Cause back in that day, back in the early '90s, that was what you did, especially with the Seattle sound coming out. So that was my first introduction to louder, harder, anger music that sort of spoke to me. Up to that point, I was raised on classical music. So a lot of Mozart and Beethoven in the house, but when I switched to that, it was just an eye-opening, life-changing experience, and I sort of stuck with that. And so, like you sort of alluded to, I sort of grew musically a little bit into more of the punk vibe, and I probably have not expanded beyond that much. So my sound is sort of locked in from the early '90s to the early 2000s. That's just my sweet spot, and I do sort of venture out of my comfort zone a little bit here and there, exploring different sorts of music. But when I write, I have a tendency to just go back to that decade of influence and sort of try to expand on that and sort of stay in my sweet spot.
Well, I mean,
It has always been a dream of mine, acoustic album. So someday perhaps I'll venture out of the comfort zone, just try something different. But love to do like a flamenco thing, so it's something completely different. But
wow, I mean, that would be amazing, especially because obviously, like you said, you're kind of sticking with like 90s, early 2000s punk, grunge, rock. And for me, I love that because I grew up on that. So that was like totally a vibe that I could connect with and relate with very, very quickly. And I mean, I think if you did a flamenco album, that would be mind-blowing and incredibly cool and something really, really cool to listen to. So definitely work towards
yeah,
that, dude. Just to spice it up, quite literally. Add some chili to the mix.
yep, exactly. I like that saying. That's great. I'll have to
You
remember
can keep it, Joe. That one you can use.
that.
So your new single is called Hero. And I say hero, but I need to kind of explain that a little more. It's hero with a question mark, right? So it's hero.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I do take myself. It's funny. I try to be as serious as I possibly can, but I also know to not take myself too seriously. And there's like a fine line between that. And if taken at face value, the song can be absolutely serious, and be asking like a very important question. But at the same time, like I said, I try to not take myself too seriously. And I was looking at the title, which originally was just Hero without the question mark. And for some reason, I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I just put a question mark and it would just differentiate it a little bit? And now it's a little more tongue in cheek, and it's almost like sarcastic or me making it an inside joke or something. And just a reminder to not take myself too seriously. Um, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saving lives over here, and it's just something I like to, mess around with. So every time I look at that question mark, it sort of makes me laugh. Although it is a bit confusing when you're using it in a sentence or trying to promote it, and like, wait, do I put the quotation marks inside or outside? Is there a period after it? Whatever. I don't know. So it's made life.
I mean, for me, I found I like it with the question mark. I think it differentiates it from every other song called Hero, which is fantastic because, I mean, I think that's a title that people sort of gravitate towards. I know there's a couple of songs called Hero, there's a couple of songs called Ghosts. People tend to have these like one word titles that become,
Mhm.
I'm not going to say cliche, but they're used a lot, right? And I think that
Yeah.
having the question mark there gives you an idea that this is something different and that you're asking different questions from a conventional song with the title Hero. So I like
Yeah.
it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
And tell me a little bit about the music video that went with it, because the music video to me is like kind of 1920s meets Star Trek and The Watchmen and some sort of futuristic robotic takeover.
I do have a long time fascination with robots and retrofuturism in general. So I love like the 1950s, especially. A lot of that stuff, however, isn't in public domain yet, so it's sort of difficult to find images that would work. So when I hired the artist to make the video for me, I just gave him very loose parameters of I like science fiction, I like rocket ships, I like robots. I don't want to pay a fortune in licensing fees, so find what you can in the public domain and let's try to make something work. And he was located in India, I believe, but he's also probably about our age and grew up on that sort of music. And when he heard the song, he sort of knew instantly what I was going for. And so the video, when he sent it back to me, other than a few spelling mistakes, it didn't need any revision. Like he immediately latched onto what I was trying to say, and the video just sort of came organically. And he sent it back to me for revision, and I looked at it like, no, this is great. It's pretty much exactly what I wanted.
That is so
So
amazing because I don't think many people get that when they're working with someone who's on a different continent to them, obviously grew up with different circumstances, and to find someone who really just sees your vision so very instantly and knows what you're going for and is able to say, this is what your song gave me. And you're like, actually, that's exactly what it meant. That was it. I mean,
yeah, it
that's
doesn't happen
definitely,
very often, but when it does, it's like capturing, magic.
yeah, I
So I knew
totally
not to
agree.
yes.
And I mean, what a cool video. Like, honestly, it's like one of those videos you want to watch again and again because you're like, wow, there's so much going on there, but it's really quirky and clever. And I mean, like I'm a big fan of like graphic novels and like I said, The Watchmen, I kind of got that vibe in there.
Wait,
That sort of like the hero who's a bit kind of dark and complicated and has got his own bullshit backstory and like is battling with his own demons and is he really doing the world any good? Yes, no, maybe. Like it was really all there. So I got to give it to the guy. He did a fantastic job of capturing the question mark.
right, yeah. And it's funny that you bring up graphic novels. I just got into them this year, or well, I guess this is January, so within the last year, let's say. But speaking of like an anti-hero, the first one I decided to read is just The Dark Knight Returns, which obviously has a lot of clout. It's been around forever, but I had never read it, and so I'm now experiencing it, as if it's brand new for the first time. So I'd love to get to pick your brain a little bit if you have any other recommendations in that sort of genre. If you could send me
Yeah, I
ideas of
mean,
what.
welcome to the club for a start. It's a great space to be in. You'll see these stories that I think have been popularized in a whole new light, because obviously with graphic novels, there's far more depth to the backstory of these characters. And like you said, like that
Right.
slightly anti-hero, the guy who you wouldn't expect to save the day, but somehow still he's the guy you're rooting for. And I love that,
Mhm.
and I think we've all kind of got an aspect of that going down in our lives as well, where we're really sort of we're trying to do our very best in the world, but we're still human. And that's what makes these characters like relatable, They're not just these, godlike beings who get everything right all the time. They're very much like you and I. And I really love that about your song too, is that that's what it's kind of talking about and capturing.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about the album that this song comes off, because this is a single you've released off an album. And the album's been
Yes,
released, am I correct?
that's correct. Yep. So I started the last EP that I released was in 2016 or 2017, and it's time has sort of gotten away from me. But I released a 5-song EP, and I was going to take a break for a while, but I almost immediately started writing again. And it's just no rest, I guess. Even if I want to take a break, it's just the brain just, what the brain wants and what the brain needs are seldom the same, right? So I was going to take a break for a while, but next thing I knew, I was on a retreat, writing new lyrics, and just felt natural to just keep the momentum going. And so I had the lyrics finished for these songs probably back in about 2018, 2019. Um, and then I got myself into a studio in late 2019 and started recording. And then with COVID, the studio shut down for a year. So I had to take a break for a year. And then I went back and had one recording session, and then they shut down again to remodel and remove across the street. And that took another year. And so, now it's 2022 and the album's still not done yet. And so I sort of said to myself, I can either just wait for the right moment for them to finally finish and we can pick up, or else I can just pack everything up and go to a different studio and start not from scratch, but sort of redo it. So I chose plan B, found a different studio. This is when I was living in Boston. So all this is going on like in the Boston, Cambridge area. And sort of reworked it, remixed it, re-recorded the vocals and kept going. And it was, yeah, from start to finish, it was almost 4 years or 4.5 years or something. So it took a lot of time and effort to get this project off the ground. And so when I finally released it, I just sort of put it out there and then sort of like, now it's time to take a break. Like now I'm fried. I need a vacation. And I took like 6 months off and just didn't even listen to it, didn't do anything musically. And then I went back and listened to it and I did not like the final mix of it. And there's certain decisions that we made in studio. I'm like, I don't know why we would have chose, this particular thing to be that obnoxiously loud, or, things like that. And so I moved to Michigan a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years ago now. And I decided that I can either just forget it, pretend like it never happened, and just move on to the next project or next album or whatever, or I can indulge my incredible self-defeatism and just redo it again. So I found a studio out here. We went back in the studio, found a brand new producer, Chuck Alkazian out here in Michigan, who's worked with a lot of pretty famous bands. And I was like instant credibility. I'm like, if he can't fix this, then no one can. And so I spent 6 months with him remixing it, remastering it. We recorded some new parts for it. And then I re-released it again this past year. And the reception has been what I had hoped it would be. People seem to like it. And don't ask me if I'm completely satisfied with it, because you know the answer. But it is really close to what I'd hoped that it would be as a final product. But as self-critical musicians go, we're never really satisfied or finished.
Yeah, I
Just sort
mean,
of how close can we get to our vision?
there's a comment that you made in the press release that was sort of sent to me that I really resonated with, about like a poem's never done, it's just abandoned. And I really like that. And I mean, I'm a visual artist as well as a musician, and for me, it's very much the same thing. It's like painting is never ever done. You just have to know when to stop and walk away and leave a little
Yeah.
piece of it undone for someone else's imagination to fill in the gaps, right?
Oh,
And I think you're totally right. I mean, as artists, we are very critical, especially of, I think with music, there's so many layers that go into it that people don't see. People don't see the behind the scenes where you're recording three different guitar takes and you're sort of layering a rhythm with the lead with the bass, and like how many times you've tried to chuck in harmonies over your own vocals, and some of them work and some of them don't. And people don't see that you as an individual musician are a whole band, and you're trying to do the work and the job of five or six musicians rolled into one when you're in studio. And
yeah.
it's something that I think people need to sort of understand, the work that goes into behind an album. It's not like we just churn these things out. I mean, you've put years of your life and a lot of self-discipline into completing this project. Because, like you said, you could have walked away. You could have just gone, it's the ugly baby. I'm just going to leave it in the corner there. See you later.
Indeed.
But instead, you chose to persevere and shift things up when they weren't working. And I mean, that takes a huge amount of courage as well, especially if you've been working on something with a group of people and you got to be like, guys, it's not personal, but that didn't work out the way I kind of felt it should, and then change to someone else and a new producer, or a new studio, and just try again. And I mean, like obviously you said the songs changed because of those decisions. Like, why was that so
Right.
obnoxiously loud? That can't be like that. Wait, it's got to go somewhere else. Um, but in that period of time, like that is a long period of time. And for myself, I know songs kind of develop. Like you write a song, and the first time you write it, it's the greatest thing. You love it so much. It's like the coolest thing you've ever written. You're like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. And then you play it some more, you maybe play it live a little bit, and you kind of come back to it going like, this one right now, maybe this one needs a bit of work. And I mean, you obviously gave it that time, but how did the songs change from like what they were when they started to what they've become now? Or are they still pretty close to those original visions?
Um, so structurally, they're pretty much on par structurally. We didn't change too much. We did delete some guitar solos and some extraneous stuff, and there's a couple choruses or bridges that we just cut in half because there's no reason for them to be that long. But we didn't. Like, we get the point. You've said what you're thinking. There's no point to repeat it twice or three times or whatever. So, we found that like it might just be even more powerful to just say it once, and then move on. And then there's a couple extraneous guitar outros that didn't need to be there, so we just cut those out. So, and we went back and finished the song that I did not have on the original release of it. So the original release had 9 songs on it, and when we were working on this one, I remembered that there was a song 10 that I never got around to finishing lyrics for it originally. I tried for probably 3 years to finish it, and
Sure.
I just wasn't feeling it. Just wasn't feeling like I was doing the song justice, either lyrically or melodically. And so I sort of shelled in, forgot about it. So it's just not going to happen. We'll just abandon it. And then my brother, who I was in a band with him back in college, way back when, but we've sort of reconnected recently. And he mentioned that he had a song idea. He actually, let me backtrack that. He had 2 song ideas, and one of them became the first single off the album, which was Annihilation. So he actually wrote the bass line for that, the bass line, the intro, and he showed it
Amazing.
to me like, I'm going to take that and I'll make something out of it. And then that was one of the first songs that I finished for the album. So fast forward a couple years later, which was last year when I was in the studio, we were reworking these tracks. And I had mentioned to him that, I've got the song that I've been working on, and I'd love to get a 10th song on this version of the album. So it differentiates it even a little more than the previous release. Um, and my brother was like, well, actually, I do have an idea for a chorus. And he read me a sentence. And I was like, done. And it was just like
Huh.
a light bulb went up. And I wrote the lyrics in a day. And it just happened organically off this one, you know, little burst
One
of
phrase.
inspiration from him. So yeah.
I mean, that's such an amazing thing that I feel like sometimes people are just these beautiful keys that unlock doors that suddenly let that inspiration flow again, like one sentence, one word, and you're like,
Hmm.
that's what I was looking for. I can remember sitting with an amazing piece of music that I'd been playing and playing and playing, and I had no words. And often for me, I'll write a song and it kind of like it flows quite easily, like the words and the music come and they just come together like a whole big stream of things. And I'm like, cool, there's a song. This was one of
Yep.
those things that I was like, this is an amazing piece of music. Nothing. I was like, okay, 6 months later, this is an amazing piece of music. Nothing. And I eventually said to a friend, just listen to this and tell me what you see. And she listened to the piece of music and she said to me, I see a battleground. And that's all she said. And I was like, thank you. Thank you so much. I have the words. And I mean, that's like
That's
amazing
awesome.
collaboration from life, right? Like, I think collaboration
Right.
comes in so many different forms. Like you said, your brother obviously collaborated with you in a way on the first track, coming up with the intro and the bass line. But I think these moments of like one sentence, one word, one picture that somebody gives you, they don't realize they're actually collaborating on a piece of art, you know, and something beautiful that's going to come
Right.
out of that. And,
Yeah.
that they get to play a part. no matter how big or small, those parts really lead to the creation of these amazing things that we try and put out into the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, talking
And
about
that's one of the,
collaborations, yeah, carry on.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you and your partner collaborate, or at least she is very influential on your artwork, right, for your albums.
Yes. Yeah. So she is a working artist and has a master's in fine art and stuff. And she's been there since I started the band. Yeah, 2011. Um, and I sort of, kind of like with the video, I sort of give her a general overview or idea of the theme or the mood of the album, and just let her come up with what she comes up with. So it's, yeah, it's pretty collaborative that way. And I years ago, when she was still in school for artwork, I contributed some of my poetry to some of her artwork, and we did like a combined book together. So it's been a collaborative process for a while now. But
And that's an amazing thing. And are these artworks that she does for your albums available as merch, like prints or anything like that, that kind of.
um, she has her own website and her own store for her own artwork, but we've never discussed releasing any of the band's artwork yet. Just because it's always been a solo in-home project. I assume if I ever get a band together, which I'm trying to do right now, but finding drummers is like insanely difficult.
I know. Why is it
Um,
always drummers? Why?
I don't know. Impossible to find. But when you go to finding like either Craigslist or Facebook, and you try to find someone, and there's posts for different musicians. Whenever there's, there's 20 posts looking for drummers, and there's no responses. But whenever there's a drummer saying I'm looking for a band, they get like 1,000 responses. And you're like, yeah, good luck. So
Ah,
yeah, it's so difficult. But so that's again one of the benefits for myself is I just do everything myself. And if you're in studio and you hire a drummer, then the engineer will always have someone on standby that they'll know who to call. They'll come in, they'll learn your song and play it that same day, and then they're out. So there's no fighting or tension that way, or any sort of conflict of creative
interest
ideas or
here,
anything.
yeah.
But
I mean,
that's for
it's
getting a band together. It's tough.
oh yeah, and keeping a band is tougher, I suspect, than getting a band, and drummers are like hen's teeth, and it seems to be a global problem. I mean, I'm sitting here in South Africa, and I know bands on this side of the world are having the same issue. It's like, where are the drummers? um, it's good to know it's universal. It's good to know that it's not just in one
It
space that
apparently
we have a
is,
shortage
absolutely.
of drummers. But I do think that being able to create solo is really important, especially in this day and age where people sort of battle to stick to something like a band. I mean, you don't always see the immediate reward of the effort you put in. It takes time and it takes effort to build a following for a band. It takes time and effort to, get albums out there, to get them listened to get them radio plays, like all of these things. And I think we kind of naively go into music thinking we're somehow going to have like this big break and then it's all going to be fine and we just be like cruising from there. And it's only once you're in the thick of it and you've been doing it for years that you realize like it's work and it's effort. And when you're doing it for yourself, it's you put in the work and you keep at it because it's your passion. And when you see the reward for it, it's great. And you got to try and keep other
Yeah.
people motivated to stick with you through that process. It's a challenge. I know all about it.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
So tell me a little bit about the title for this album. Retaliation is Newtonian.
Um, Sort of another tongue-in-cheek sort of thing, like with the title for Hero. It's everyone says sort of turn the other cheek and let things go. And I've been trying to let things go more in my life because I have a tendency to overthink things and over dramatize in my own head and blow things up that should not be blown up. Let's put it that way. So I've been trying to get better with letting things go. And then everyone says, you're not supposed to retaliate. You're supposed to whatever. But that's sort of an inside joke. I was like, well, what if I can't help but retaliate because nature
Like an
dictates
apple
that I absolutely have
falling
to?
from a tree, right?
Yep, exactly. So, like in that case, if an animal falls from a tree, like the ground can either just let it lay there, or maybe something supernatural happens and the ground rises up and throws the animal back into the tree. I don't know, but yeah. So just playing with that idea of like, can you really change your behavior if it's so ingrained in you that it's not meant to be changed? But again, that's probably overthinking it a little bit, and again, probably unnecessarily overcomplicating it. But that's
It's a very cool title to an album, especially when then you follow it up with tracks that are titled Annihilation and Hero. I think I think that really works. And it's obviously asking questions
I mean, it can
about
almost be slightly heavy-handed, but again, I try to not take it too seriously. So if you read it at face value, like, oh, this is a really serious album. Like, what's this guy talking? This guy probably needs a vacation or something. Pretty bleak. But yeah, I
well,
try
I
to let my
mean,
humor show through a little bit in the songs, but not too much. But I
I
don't
think
have
it's a
the
good
quick I don't have
balance.
the quick wit to be like a really like a MXPX or like one of those bands that you read the lyrics, you're like, this is brilliant and funny at the same time. Like I don't have that quick wit to do that. So this is what I hide behind.
Do you know what? I think you're doing a good job of keeping a balance, though. It's good. It's asking some serious questions, but in a way that still makes you feel there's a quirkiness to it. So it's good. Definitely
Appreciate
don't
that.
think you're missing the mark. You're not at all. Um, and how have you been finding the marketing of this? Like, do you have someone helping you with the marketing? Is it something that you're doing largely, on your own? How's that kind of going for you?
Up until when I hired Gina, my publicist, 6 months ago now, I believe. Prior to that, I had always done everything myself. And when I say done it myself, I mean, I posted a video on YouTube and was like, there you go. Whatever happens, happens. Like, I've never pushed it. I've never publicized it. I told my friends about it, that's really about it. And I did have a Facebook account at one point in time and had maybe 200 followers or something for the music. And about 2 years ago, I don't even know what happened, but I got an email from Facebook saying that I had posted something illegal or something, and so they shut my account off. And I was like, that definitely wasn't me. I haven't even used it in like a week or two. So I went back to try to get back into it, and they said, sorry, our decision is final, and they just wiped everything. So I lost all my contacts. I lost all the stuff, the pictures I posted that I didn't have backed up. Like I lost everything. And so up until about 2 months ago, I didn't have any sort of social media. At least I had Instagram for personal use, but that was about it. And just the thought of getting back on there and starting over again, I wasn't even sure if I really wanted to do it, even if it's just minimal footprint, but just to have your name out there. So to make a short story long, I guess, to answer your question, um, it's been minimal work on my part up until last couple of months. And then in true American fashion, I hired someone else to do it for me.
I like the way that story ended. Honestly, I think we're all trying to wear too many hats these days. It's a tough thing being a musician who's self-marketing. It's quite an experience, and if you get it right, it feels really rewarding because you feel like this sense of like great self-satisfaction. But it is not an easy journey, and social media is overwhelming and it's daunting. And when they do stuff like that and shut you down when you're really not doing anything but just trying to get started, that kind of takes the life and soul out of it. And I think music is ultimately, we've kind of got to hold on to the reasons why we do these things in the first place. And I think
Absolutely.
it gets really easy to get lost in trying to keep up with the social media, trying to keep up with, you know, creating content and all of that that's now been added to the plate that a musician has to carry, and kind of forget the real reason why we got started in the first place. And I think that having kind of gone through that journey and kind of kept it true, just chatted to your friends about it, told them, and stuck to the real reason why you're making music has made your music really good. You know, you've given it the time and the space where you're not focused on all the rest of that crap and you're just focused on what is really sort of essential and true about being a musician. And it really shows in the
Yeah.
music. The music is fantastic and it's it's been given the time it requires. You haven't half-assed it while you're busy trying to do all the other things that musicians are supposed to do these days. So,
Yeah.
I think that also hiring someone is great, especially someone who is passionate and dedicated. And I mean, we're here chatting, and that wouldn't have been the case
Exactly.
without your publicist. So she's clearly doing a good
Exactly.
job. But where do you, like you said, you took 6 months off, right? After the 5 year, three studio, how many different producers and hired drummers stint? You took your
Yeah.
6 months off, and now you're getting into the actual thick of marketing this album and releasing singles and doing interviews and all that sort of stuff that goes in behind the scenes and getting the word out there about the stuff you create. Where do you think you're going kind of from here? Are you already writing again? Are you already kind of pre-prepping the next batch? Or are you just writing this for a while?
Mm. Oh, there you go. Sorry, you had frozen for a second.
Sorry, I'm
We're
back.
back up and
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the initial goal was to take perhaps another 6 months or a year off because it has been a long, arduous process, and just try to recollect myself and get remotivated. But like I said earlier, what the brain wants and what the brain needs, right? Two different things. And I do have like two or three other songs that I'm in process of trying to finish, and it's like this isn't helping me get the rest or the break that I needed, but it's also like a compulsion, right?
Yeah.
It's not almost like it's not a choice, and it's a blessing and a curse, I guess. But um, yeah, there's like three songs right now that are sort of circulating in my head, and they're in various stages of completion. And like you mentioned with one of your songs earlier, that it was this brilliant song that was amazing, but you just couldn't finish it for like 6 months, right? So two of them need that sort of next step where it's like the initial intro is like, this is fantastic. And then you're like, there's nothing I can do next to give this intro justice. So I'll just keep jamming on this intro and just see what happens, sort of thing. So we're just stuck in that infinite loop right now, but I'm hoping for some sort of breakthrough soon. But at first, I think I really do need a vacation.
You never know. That's where you might find the breakthrough. It often is the case when you take yourself out of your day to day into something new altogether, that's where you
Oh,
find
absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
missing piece, right?
Yeah. So living in Boston, I'm from Michigan originally. So I was doing that drive back and forth. It's a 12-hour drive. Most of my lyrics come when I'm doing that drive. So I'll just
Mm.
sit in the car and I don't even have the radio on. I'm just driving with complete silence. And then, I'm on autopilot. Half my brain is focusing on the road. And that allows the creative part to just come up with things that I would not come up with if I was like sitting and watching TV or something, or playing the guitar and thinking about it. So it just sort of, organically, a phrase or a melody will pop in there. I was like, oh, I'll pull over and I'll like write it down, or I'll sing it into my phone really quick and just have notes, either verbal or visual cues, to when I come home to transcribe them.
I love that you said that because that was a great segue into what I was going to ask. And I do the same thing. I also drive, no radio, no music playing, and that's often where I write lyrics and come up with
Mhm.
sort of melodies for things that I then go home and sit with a guitar and try and figure out. And
Yep.
I was going to say, sort of like, what tends to come first for you? Is it like lyrics or is it melody? Is it, or is it just like a bit of both? It sounds like it's a bit of both.
It is. It is a bit of both. When I'm playing, like I'll sit and play guitar pretty much every single day. I work from home, which affords me the ability to step away from the computer and pick up the guitar for 5 minutes as a break, and then come back and continue working. And so I'll just do a couple chords and strum a little bit and noodle around. And if anything good happens, cool. I'll write it down and save it for later. But lyrically, I read a lot, and if and mostly classic literature, And when something, a phrase or a sentence pops on me as being inspirational or be like, I could probably turn it into something, then I'll put it in my journal. And it's amazing when you're in that mindset of taking something from your reading and then just writing it down and then moving on. When you go back to a couple months later, there's pages and pages of stuff I don't remember writing, but
Yeah.
it's all like, I don't remember this, but this is fantastic. And then that jars something in you that's like, this is usable. I can do something with this.
I mean, that is such a great tip for songwriters is to read and pick out phrases. And it's something that we kind of do as an activity on some of the songwriters workshops that I run is to sort of throw random phrases out there and, just open a book on a random page and pick a line and see what it
Right.
sparks and what it inspires. And I really love the fact that that is something that you're also sort of suggesting as part of your process. Um,
Absolutely.
so we've only got a few minutes left of this interview. So before I go, I want you to just tell people where they can find this album and your previous EP. That would be great.
Sure. So you can go to my website, amodernarmada.com. I also have a Bandcamp site where the physical media is for sale, both the vinyl version of this album and the CDs of the previous two EPs.
That is
Um,
fantastic.
or find me on Instagram or Facebook. I think I'm the only A Modern Armada out there, so it should be pretty easy to find.
Well, that's always good when it's easy for people, but definitely, I think if people can support through your website and through Bandcamp, I mean, that is the way really to support an artist and actually connect with an artist, and I really
Yeah,
thoroughly encourage people to do that. And I think that is definitely the best way to keep the music coming, right?
right, absolutely. And if you find me on Facebook or Instagram and you mention this interview, I will send you the album for free. So just putting that
What? That's
out.
incredible. Okay, guys, you heard him. Go and find a modern armada on Instagram and Facebook. Mention the diverse creative interview. Thank you for that. That is incredible.
Of
And
course.
thank you so much for this interview, Stephen. This has been amazing, and I've really enjoyed chatting to you.
Likewise, I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, we'll definitely catch you next time you've got another single to throw out or another album to release. We'd love to hear more.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's a deal.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.